Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining our webinar today. My name is Rafal Dujet, and I'm the Senior Marketing Manager at Terabase. Today, we're going to be showcasing some of the new features, enhancements, and capabilities of our integration between the Terabase Development Platform and PlantPredict. So we're going to kick it off with our first presenter, Tang Li, who is a co-founder of Terabase and our Vice President of Development Technology.
Thanks, Rafal. And thank you everyone for joining us today. We're excited to bring you this webinar and start a series of regular webinars to share news and details about Terabase's products. Be sure to follow our social media on LinkedIn and Twitter for additional announcements. Upcoming webinars will be a deeper dive into each of our products, but today we're going to be looking at the integration between two of our products, the Terabase platform and PlantPredict. But first, I'd like to start today's webinar with a brief overview of Terabase. So the company was founded in 2019 by a group of solar industry veterans with a shared background from our time at SunPower. We're headquartered in Berkeley, California, and over the past 3 years, our team has grown to over 80 individuals in 10 countries. We expect another growth period in the second half of this year to meet the demand we're seeing from the industry. And we're excited to be building and bringing you new solutions to accelerate the deployment of utility scale solar power plants. With the global perspective, we bring our collective experience to building products that help you make quicker and better decisions about your projects and be a force multiplier for your team. So at Terabase, we're tackling the project lifecycle from 3 perspectives: development technology, construction technology, and operational technology. Our group focuses on development phase products, which includes the Terabase platform, PlantPredict, and also our engineering services group. The construction technology group is building construction monitoring and automation tools, which you'll be hearing more about later this year. The operational technology group offers best-in-class data and plant control solutions with a track record of more than 10 gigawatts globally. Oh, sorry about that. You may hear us refer to the Terabase platform as the development platform or the Terabase development platform. This additional qualifier of development is necessary because we have solutions targeted at construction and operational phases of your projects that will be introduced in the near future. If you're interested in these solutions, feel free to reach out to any of us individually, and we'll connect you with the right information and contacts. Okay. Today, we'll be focusing on the integration of PlantPredict and the Terabase development platform, which you may hear us refer to as the Dev Platform for short. But first, I'd like to spend some time on each of these software products individually, in case for those of you who are not familiar with one or the other. Okay, so the Terabase development platform is a GIS-enabled cloud-based solution that automates site definition, equipment selection, design, quantities takeoff, cost estimation, and financial modeling. We've built the infrastructure to digitize your solar power plant project and empower you to accomplish this process from end to end in minutes. You can use this tool to quickly evaluate different scenarios, considering variables such as parcel combinations, target capacities, technology selection, design parameters, cost rates, financial parameters, etc. The possibilities are endless. PlantPredict is a cloud-based performance modeling tool developed by First Solar and acquired by Terabase in late 2021. The key differentiators with PlantPredict and the reasons why Terabase felt strongly about this acquisition are: number one, the bankability and accuracy. So PlantPredict has been approved by independent engineers on several gigawatts of project financing. It was also built using over a gigawatt of operating power plant data, and it continues to be benchmarked against several gigawatts of operating plants on an annual basis. So it's getting better and more accurate over all the time. Number two is the cloud infrastructure. It's natively modern. PlantPredict was born in the cloud, and this enables integrations with other tools and data providers, as we'll demonstrate to you today. We're able to integrate PlantPredict with the Terabase Development Platform using the API endpoints that are actually available to all of our users today. We know that we're not the only software provider for all of your current needs, so we want to play well with others. For example, we've integrated with your favorite weather data providers such as Solar GIS, CPR, Solcast. We also have MediaNorm, NRail databases already in the platform. So you can import their data directly from PlantPredict using API credentials. So no more downloading CSVs or emailing them around and uploading them to different applications. And number three, it's ready for the future. PlantPredict can manage sub-hourly data and perform predictions down to the minute level, which is necessary for accurate analysis of solar plus storage power plants. So with that, I'll hand it over to David, our head of product management, who joined Terabase as part of the PlantPredict acquisition. And David is going to show you how we've integrated these two tools.
Thanks, Tang. Really excited. This is our first webinar, PlantPredict webinar in a little over a year. So I saw a lot of familiar names on the registration list, so we're really grateful that you would take the time to join us and reconnect. It's exciting to show what we've been working on since the acquisition in October. A big part of what we've been doing is integrating the world-class Terabase Dev Platform with PlantPredict. And really what you are going to see here is two very powerful tools that are actually more powerful because they work together. And so for those of you that are not familiar with the Terabase Dev Platform, or maybe don't have an account, I'm going to show you how to sign up for an account. So here we are at the terabase.energy website. You can get an account by clicking on the blue sign in button in the upper right hand corner. When you go there, this is our login screen. So you'll click this blue sign up, and I'm going to sign up for an account just so that you guys can see how this works. I'll use this guy right there, but we're going to make it 8. And then we'll use number 8. We'll just call this testco. Put in my phone number, set up my password. Okay, we do have multi-factor authentication, but I'm going to turn it off for this account. And you have to agree to our terms and conditions, which are down here, if you want to look at that, and sign up. So as soon as you do that, what happens is an email gets sent to the email address that you used when you were doing the registration. I'm going to close that and go to my email. There it is. So it says, welcome to Terabase Energy. You have to click this click here link, which will verify your email. And it'll tell you that that's been set up. So now we're going to go to login. So I'm going to put in my email. And password. And log in. So the first thing we had to do when we integrated these two tools is we had to integrate the user base. So when you register for a Terabase Dev Platform account, it automatically sets up a PlantPredict account for you and lets you know that Terabase is integrated with PlantPredict. So automatically in the background, an account was created in PlantPredict because this was a new one. If by chance you already have a PlantPredict account, and you sign up for a Terabase account, what'll happen is the two software will find your accounts based upon your email address and link them. So it's not like your only approach is to sign up with a Terabase account first or whatever. We tried to cover all the different use cases and scenarios that users might come to these two products with and find a way to integrate no matter what. So let us know if you have any trouble with that, but it should work. Now, when I said that the account got created, it did send a PlantPredict invitation as well. So I do have to set up my PlantPredict password. Okay, so now I'm going to log in to PlantPredict. All right, here's our PlantPredict Terms of Use, which we accept. All right, there we go. So now I have the Terabase PlantPredict Demo +8 logged in there. Terabase PlantPredict Demo +8 logged in here. These two are completely linked. And just to demonstrate for you that they're actually linked, what I'm going to do is just throw a really quick project onto the map. I'm going to drop it here in Ohio. So this project gets a default project name, TES, that comes from my test company name, -4, 1754. When I hit save, it saves this project in the Terabase Dev Platform, and at the same time saves this project in my PlantPredict account automatically. So, all right, that's how that works. If you have any trouble through this process, you can reach us at support@plantpredict.com. Just let us know if you have any trouble with the initial login, like maybe you've lost the email from PlantPredict, or it went into a junk folder or something like that. If you need us to resend that, we can do that without a problem. All right. So without further ado, I'm going to hand back over to Rafal. Rafal, why don't you take us through our very first survey?
Yes, so I'm going to give us maybe 10 seconds to answer this question. What design software do you currently use? Feel free to choose multiple options. And we'll give it a few more seconds before going back to David. All right, thank you very much. We'll have another couple poll questions later on.
Wow, it looks like we've got a very friendly audience with over 50% of our respondents using our Terabase products, which is great. So glad to have you all here. And hopefully you're going to learn something about how we have integrated these two tools. All right, so to begin with, I'm going to be doing some like role playing. So what I'm going to do is set up this scenario. I am a utility scale developer looking to develop solar in Central Florida. So what I'm going to do is start off with doing some prospecting in PlantPredict. All right, so there's many ways that you can come at these software. I'm just giving you one example. So as a developer prospecting, I'm going to create a new project. We'll just call this project Demo. We're going to look in Central Florida. So when I do a search in Florida, it's going to drop me right in the middle of Florida. Save that. Now I'm going to create a new prediction. Within PlantPredict, we have 3 different prediction types: the block builder, map builder, and batch. For today's purposes, I'm just going to do a map builder in PlantPredict. We have plans to do some additional webinars here in the future where I'm going to go in deep with PlantPredict and in the dev platform. So bear with us. So we're only going to be able to scratch the surface on some of the features of the software today. All right. Okay, within my prediction, you start at the top and work your way down. So I'm going to start by selecting weather data. So like Tang mentioned in the intro, we have relationships with all the major weather data providers. All right, so I am going to go with the NSRDB, which is the free weather data provided by NREL, our National Solar Resource Database. And now I'm going to define my power plant. Actually, I'm going to be prospecting for my power plant. Okay, so when I open the map builder, it drops me in Central Florida on a map user interface. I have two different map backgrounds. I have the terrain view and I have the satellite view. You can change between the terrain view and the satellite view clicking this little button down here. I'm going to jump over to the satellite view so that we can see a bird's eye view of this area. And then I'm going to transition over to our map overlay menu when I click on that button there. And I'll show you some of the map overlays we have in PlantPredict. So first off, I'm going to open up our parcel layer. So we have a parcel database that's available to all PlantPredict Premium subscribers. If you don't see that, it's because you're not a PlantPredict Premium subscriber. But the parcel database is very handy when you're doing prospecting. You can click on a parcel like this and get some information about the parcel, including who the owner is, what the parcel ID is, and even if we have market data, we'll provide that. You can also hold down your shift key and select multiple parcels and then create a site boundary directly from that selection. So you can see here, we now have a parcel boundary around these parcels. So I'm going to turn off my parcel layer because I don't need that anymore. And I'm going to turn on my wetlands layer. So we have wetlands data from the United States Fish and Wildlife Service. You can see that we do have some wetlands infringing upon this site boundary. So all you need to do is click one of the wetlands, establish what your setback should be, and hit the create all constraints. And what it'll do is it'll create constraints for those wetlands on your site boundary. All right, so that'll make sure we don't put solar trackers in Lake David. We also just rolled out some new layers. We have transmission line data. You'll see we have a transmission line that flows just to the west of my site. We also have substation data. Now the nearest substation to this site is down here to the south. So if I click on that, I can get information about that substation. We also have oil and natural gas pipelines, which, it looks like we do have a pipeline that's going to intrude upon our site. So I can click on that pipeline, and once again, just like with the wetlands data, just at the click of a button, we create a constraint with a 50-foot setback over top of that pipeline. All right, so now I will turn those layers off, and we will go into the creation of our power plant. Okay. Within PlantPredict, we offer a database of global inverters and module files, but maybe you can't find the inverter or module file that you're interested in. I'm going to show you how you can add an inverter or a module file. So I'm going to save. Oh, we didn't want to do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to jump over to our inverter library. You can see we have an inverter and a module library here. I'll start off with the module. So within the module library, I can add a new module by clicking this orange button in the upper right-hand corner. The most popular way to add a new module file is to upload a PAN file. I'm going to click on the upload PAN file, go into my demo folder, and there's a 540 PAN file. Click on that. This is going to bring in a module file, a 540 watt module. From that PAN file, you can see my manufacturer's demo manufacturer. My model name is demo 540 module. I'm going to save that. Now, if you want to see your personal module files, you change your filter within the library. So I'm showing just my modules. And you can see there in draft, it's in draft private status, meaning that I'm the only one who can see this within the tool. And so there's my module that I uploaded. For inverters, it's a very similar process, except for you're going to use an OND file. So when I click on upload OND file, there's my central inverter. I got a 3 megawatt central inverter that I'm going to upload and I'm going to use for this demonstration. So we will save that. Once again, close my global active filter and just look at my inverters. So there we have our demo central inverter available in the system. Okay, so now coming back over here, I'm going to click add inverter, close global active, and look for my inverters. I'm probably going to have to refresh here. Actually, let's do this again. All right, bear with me here for a second. Okay. Now we're back to where I wanted to be. Let's get rid of the active, get rid of the global. We'll bring in my inverter. There's my central inverter. And here's my 540 watt module. Perfect. Okay. Moving forward, we do have to put in what our target is. So I'm looking to develop a 100 megawatt power plant here in Central Florida. What my desired DC-AC ratio, we're going to go with a 1.2 DC-AC ratio. We'll start off with 40% GCR, horizontal tracker mounting system, and leave all the rest of the default values there. So when I hit update DC capacity, PlantPredict's going to do a quick indicative layout. PlantPredict's map builder layout engine, I think, is the fastest in the industry when it comes to utility scale layouts. You saw how fast it was able to just come up with a really quick DC based layout. And you can make changes, like the default here is a kind of like a quad style array where we have roads coming in from the north and the south, as well as from the east to west. If I want to get rid of my north-south roads, I just put a 0 in there, hit update DC capacity, and just that fast, we're able to flood the site with DC with just an east-west road instead of a north-south and an east-west. All right, we're shooting for 100 megawatts AC, and you can see right now we are at 91 megawatts AC and 111 megawatts DC. You can see that down here in the site specifications tray. So I can start making some adjustments, like I'm going to increase my GCR and see if I can increase my power output. So there you go. 44% GCR gets me up to 100.8 megawatts AC, 120 megawatts DC. So we're now at the size that I was looking for. Now, because I'm prospecting, I want to look for some other risk factors that may come into play with my site. So we offer some tools that can help you do some topography analysis. So I'm going to open up our 3D site view. What the 3D site view does is it pulls in elevation data for this site and creates a surface, and then we build a 3D model of your power plant on top of that surface inside the 3D site viewer. So it's doing that right now. Okay, here's our power plant in 3D. We'll put in the map overlay so you can get a quick view of what we're looking at here. Now, the most simple topography analysis that we do is high slope areas. So it defaults in at 6%. So we're classifying high slope area of 6% as a problem. And you can see around these water features, we do have some issues. All right, so I'm going to close out of there and come back to my 2D view. That data gets transferred right over into our 2D view. I can click on one of these triangles, update my setback. I'm going to go with 10 feet and say create all constraints, and it'll automatically create constraints for those high slope areas. Now I click my update DC capacity, and just that fast, we get a new DC and AC analysis showing with those high slope areas taken out of consideration. Now notice I'm off of my target again, so I'm going to increase my GCR slightly again and go to 45% and hit update DC capacity. That should take care of the problem and get me right back to my 100 megawatt target. All right, we have many other tools inside the 3D site view that I'm just not going to be able to go into in detail today, but we would love to cover that in a future webcast or in a private demo. But for now, we're going to move on. The next tool that I just want to showcase is our PLP 1000. It's really nice to have a model and have your layout all built in your software, but generally you're going to have to create a document that you can share. The PLP 1000 is a downloadable PDF document that you can use to share with your stakeholders or investors or just your colleagues to show them the layout that you created for your power plant while you were prospecting. So here is our PLP 1000. You can see it's a very nice looking document with a title block and some details about the power plant. Very popular, the PLP 1000 is. We also offer a very high level indicative bill of materials within PlantPredict. Once again, we're prospecting. We're going to go into a detailed design in the Terabase Dev Platform, which will have a much more detailed bill of materials. So stay tuned. I can't wait to show that to you. We also offer the ability to download this layout in KMZ format. This is pretty standard within most of these tools, but you can open this layout in Google Earth, which is kind of like the standard for looking at these types of things. I just want to showcase though, or highlight our folder structure, because most KML tools have a different format of folders. We have site boundaries, our constraints, our earthwork, which I did not go into. We do have a cut fill tool, and then our DC features. So you can turn these on, turn these off by clicking that check mark. Minimize that. We also just recently, within the past few months, rolled out the ability to download this layout in DXF format. So if you want to open it in AutoCAD, you can do that. We also bring with it a coordinate system. So this will even open in Civil 3D. So you can take this layout as is and take it forward that way. If you want to view your design in table view, this is our array view. It's our default is our array view. You can also transition over to tables and do a flood using just your tracker tables. And this is something as well. If you're going to download into CAD format, you may want to do it in the table view so that you can interact with the tables directly. I'll go back to array view. Okay. All right, but the whole reason why you're doing this is not just to get a capacity. Maybe it is. Maybe you're just trying to get a capacity, but we ultimately want to do an energy analysis. We want to understand how much energy this power plant will produce, and that is the heart and soul of what PlantPredict is it is an energy prediction engine. So in our simulation settings area, you can see what our decomposition models are, our transposition models, our heat, our module temperature models, our shading models. We have many of the industry standard models in our tool, and we have them all well documented on our website. We also offer the ability to do multi-year predictions. If you want to see how degradation is going to occur, we have different degradation models, so you can do that. I'm going to go back to a single year. We also offer the ability to do uncertainty analysis. This is a pretty common question I get through our support queue, is people say, how do I do a P90? Well, you can just come into the uncertainty analysis screen and you can do a P90 or P95 or P99, or even P33 if you wanted to. You can have any type of uncertainty analysis included with your model that you want. All right, I'm going to save and close that and kick off that prediction. So a standard prediction like this, that's just a single year prediction, is going to take somewhere around 10 to 30 seconds to process. As you get more complicated power plants or multi-year predictions, it can take a little bit longer. But the way that this all works is the packet, your power plant is packaged up, is put on a server. We have a queue. We have handlers that come along and pick that up, and then it runs the prediction. And you can see it's running right now. And as soon as it's done, you can click on the View Energy Results and see what those results are. So this power plant is predicted to produce 242 gigawatt hours of energy in the first year. To over 2,000 specific yield is pretty good. Gotta love Florida. Lots of sun down there. We also have our loss tree. Our block view, so you can see the details from a block perspective. Also our charting tool, which we've taken our charting tool here recently and really expanded it. So you can scroll through the year and see your energy production on a daily basis. And we also offer some advanced variables. This is something we've been doing here lately, is we've been putting in things like inverter limitation loss. So you can see how your inverter clipping is affecting your energy production, or near shading loss. So you can see where as the sun is going down, our near shading loss goes up, or in the morning, you can see where the near shading. So some of the loss factors right on top of your plant net energy. All right. So with that, I'm going to hand it back over to Rafal. We're going to do our second survey. And then when we come back, I'm going to go into the Dev platform and show you how we can do a detailed design for this power plant. So Rafal, go ahead and take it away.
So this time we're asking, what software do you use for your performance simulations? And as we take 15 seconds to look at this poll, I'd like to remind everybody that we are going to do a Q&A session at the end of this webinar. So if you have any questions, please submit them to the chat and we will answer them at the end of this webinar. So we'll give this a few more seconds. All right, thanks for your answers, and we'll go back to David.
All right, not too surprised. PVSys is definitely a popular option, but I'm happy to see that PlantPredict comes in with a solid second. This is great. All right, anyways, here we are. I just logged into the Dev platform again. So what I'm going to do for the remainder of this demonstration is I'm going to show you how you can do a detailed design for that power plant that we just prospected in the Terabase Dev platform. All right, so I'm going to start off by hitting Create New Project. Now when I open this up, if you remember, I downloaded a KMZ file from PlantPredict. I'm going to use that KMZ to set up my project. So let's go to my downloads, PlantPredict 49, open that up, and it's going to drop me right down in Central Florida on top of the area that I was working on in PlantPredict. So this is one of the ways that the tools are integrated, is you can take a KMZ from the PlantPredict map builder and open it in the Terabase Dev platform. All right. Now when I hit save, our project name is DEM81722. Just like I showed earlier in the demonstration, that automatically flows over into PlantPredict, so I get my project set up there. So here it is with no predictions. Okay, now this KMZ data is actually a map layer. So our Dev platform doesn't know what these lines represent. They don't know which lines are boundaries, which ones are constraints, until we define that for the software. So I'm going to use this very handy KML tool on the right-hand side menu. Click KML, and it'll show you the objects contained inside your KMZ or KML file that you've just opened. So here you can see we have our site boundaries at the top, and then next our DC constraints. So I can just say these, oh, I got out of script. I got to hit create new simulation first. Now, boundary, boundary, boundary. Okay, so there's my 3 site boundaries. Next, I'm going to need to cycle through my constraints and let the dev platform know which of these lines are actual exclusions. So I'm going to hit exclusion, exclusion, and you can see as I'm clicking on it, you can see the exclusions being filled in. All right, so click through. Now there's one of these in here that is going to give me an error. I knew that. We're going to show you how to deal with that. So this object here is just too complex for the tool to draw. So we're going to have to do that manually, but that's totally doable. I'll show you how to draw an exclusion as well inside the dev platform. All right. And there we have all of our exclusions defined. Beyond that, the objects are the subarrays. If I click on the subarray, it'll show you where that is, the PCS. You know, these are artifacts brought in from the map builder prediction that we're working on. Those are not constraints. Those are not boundaries. So I'm not going to click anything with that. But what I am going to do is I'm going to address this one complex shape that we need to draw around. So I'm going to click exclusion and go ahead and click on the corners here and draw manually an exclusion area, which you can do linear exclusions as well as area exclusions. There we go. I've got that. So now at this point, I'm going to hide my KMZ layer because we don't need it anymore. We've got our boundaries and our constraints. So we've gotten everything we needed out of that KMZ. So now I can close out of there. Now, with the site plan, you need 2 things for a site plan to be considered valid. If I click next, it would tell me that this site plan is not yet valid because you need a boundary, which we have, and a substation. So when I click on substation, I can define what my area of my substation is. I'm going to go with the default 50/50 and drop it right there by the entrance road. All right, the reason why we got to have a substation is because we actually build a detailed bill of materials when we do a detailed design on the dev platform. And that detailed bill of materials even includes medium voltage collection. So we got to know where we're bringing all of our medium voltage to. And so that's why we add in the substation. Okay, so I hit next. The dev platform has these quick selection tiles, which are really handy. If I want to just move really quickly into analysis stage, I can just say bifacial, single axis tracker, and central, and then come in here. By default, we put a 30% GCR and 1.2 DC AC ratio as just a standard first prediction or scenario. What I'm going to do though is I'm going to match what we had done in PlantPredict, and I'm going to do a 45% GCR and 1.2 DC AC ratio. I'll delete that 30%, and I'm going to kick this thing off. So when I go through there and I hit submit, what happens is the dev platform takes the information, specifically our site plan, packages that up along with our module, our tracker definition, our inverter, and actually hands it off to a queue as well. There's a process that'll run, and it'll actually do a layout, a server-side layout, as opposed to a browser-based layout for that design, that scenario. And it'll come back here in just a moment, and it'll show me what we've got as far as the layout is concerned. So there it is, and you'll see the layout. So there's our AC block layout. And you can see we came in at 100 megawatts AC, 121 megawatts DC, just like I was expecting with a 45% GCR, because we saw very similar results in PlantPredict. And now what the tool is doing is it's actually handed off the layout. So it builds a complex power plant in PlantPredict that matches this layout exactly. So it decompiles all of these arrays into trackers and inverters, and actually builds that in PlantPredict automatically in a very detailed fashion, and then runs that simulation. And so the simulation is running in the background. You can see it's at 10%. Once that simulation is complete, it goes then to a cost service, and we build up a detailed bill of quantities, and then use our cost data to build out a cost estimate that'll then feed into the financial model, which we have here, and so on and so forth. While that's running, and you can see it's moving along pretty well, I'm going to actually kick off another simulation. And this simulation, I'm going to actually do some optimization. So it's one thing to be able to just get a scenario. I was able to do that in PlantPredict Map Builder. Where the Dev Platform really shines is in its ability to do optimization and run multiple scenarios very quickly, all automatically. All right, so I'm going to click those just so I can get to this menu. I'm going to go into the custom world, because if you remember, I uploaded a custom module and a custom inverter. I want to use those in my optimization. So there's my custom module. So your options are endless. You can upload modules into PlantPredict and bring them right into the Dev Platform, as you can see. All right, for my tracker, I'm going to go with a 1 high 1x36 tracker. And then for inverters, I'm going to select my custom demo 3 megawatt inverter. Okay, so optimization tools within the Dev Platform. Instead of using option 1, we're going to use option 2, and we're going to use the GCR Solver. Very powerful tool. So remember, we're looking for a 100 megawatt power plant. Now, what the software is doing here is it's looking at the area that I have. It knows that I'm shooting for a 100 megawatt power plant. It gives me DC AC ratio options at a 0.05 interval. So starts at 0 and works its way up to 1.7. So every 0.05, and then it calculates a GCR required to hit this megawatt target. So I can just simply click the scenarios that I want to test. So I'm going to do 1.2 to 1.35, and it'll automatically put in the GCRs. And when I hit next, it'll when I hit submit, it'll kick it off. Before I do that, I just want to highlight we have base assumptions in the tool. You can come in and modify those assumptions and make them your own. So here's our medium voltage assumptions, our energy loss assumptions, both DC and AC that go into PlantPredict, your cost assumptions, your financial inputs. You get the idea. So you can put in your own values and make sure that the optimization is run with those values. So I kick that off. There, my queue is loaded. I got these 4 different scenarios, and it'll do many scenarios. You're not limited to 4. Obviously, the more scenarios you do, the longer it's going to take. And since we're trying to do this webinar in an hour, I'm only going to kick off 4. And while that's running, I'm going back to the scenario that we had originally ran, and I'm going to do a little bit of a walkthrough on that. So first off, this layout is completely interactive, so I can zoom in. I can view this from an array view or a table view by clicking on this render menu option on the right-hand side. So here we're looking at it from a table view. And using my right mouse button, I can transition into 3D mode. So you can see how to go into 3D mode just by right-clicking. You can tilt, you can pivot, and then using your left mouse button, you can zoom in. You can click on some of these objects, like this red object back here is my AC station. That's AC station number 12. This little yellow guy under here is my combiner box. So I click on that, that's combiner box number 6. So like I said, the tool does a really detailed layout. It knows, it places combiner boxes, it places inverters so that it can actually calculate cable lengths. The way you can see that detail is you click on this download package here, which when I click on it, it's going to download a KMZ, or not a KMZ, a zip file. When I open that up, you can see we have our detailed bill of quantities. Instead of just 6 items like what we had in PlantPredict, we actually give you 25 items in the Dev platform, all the way down to perimeter fencing and road quantities. That is used to build out a cost estimate, and every cost estimate, it's scenario specific. It just uses those default values, those assumed values, and then our quantities to come up with a cost estimate. And that cost estimate is then passed into our financial model. And the financial model does a full cash flow for the life of the project and calculates your IRR, NPV, and LCOE accordingly. We also bring in a KMZ file. So this is the KMZ file with the Dev Platform layout to go right along with our PlantPredict layout. So I can turn off my PlantPredict layout or turn off my Dev Platform layout and see how those overlap and interact with each other. Okay. Now, the other thing that is important to note, because we're talking about the integration, is I'm going to look at this scenario in PlantPredict. Click on this PlantPredict logo next to the scenario, and it automatically opens a new browser window with that scenario. I could go back here and refresh, and we'll see our PlantPredict predictions coming in from that optimization run that we were doing. You can navigate there, but definitely clicking that logo is the fastest way to get in here. I'm going to show you the power plant. So the power plant you're seeing here, what gets built from the Dev platform into PlantPredict is a block builder prediction. This is the detailed, the high level of detail. This was one of the most time-consuming parts of the integration, is getting our array layouts in the Dev platform mapped over to our PlantPredict block builder. You can see this is 32 arrays, and we've got different array types within each block, and that goes down to an actual DC field. If I click on that, you can see like our table structure and our module dimensions and all that stuff. So we build that out, and that's all used in the prediction. So that's the way that we know that you're getting a detailed and accurate prediction when it runs in PlantPredict. All right, if you want an 8760, you go to this View Energy Results, which I already showed you this before, but we offer you some additional export options using this Export Results. You can download a Plant Summary 8760 by clicking that download draft, and this will open a PlantPredict Result Summary 8760 for your Terabase Dev Platform design power plant, which I think is pretty amazing. So here's your summary data. Here's your 8,760 records to represent each hour in the year. All right. Okay, so coming back over here, looks like my optimization is complete. So when I click on that, here's my optimized results. So we've got all of our 4 scenarios ranging in DC-AC ratio and GCR, and I can click on these headers and sort this data by any of these header values. So if I click on LCOE, I can see which of these scenarios gives me the lowest LCOE. So how about that? The 1.2, 45% GCR gives us our lowest LCOE. Interestingly enough, that is not our cheapest to construct. So when we look at it from a EPC construction cost perspective, actually the 1.36 DC-AC ratio is a little cheaper to construct by a couple pennies. That's why you shouldn't just go off of which is my cheapest on a cost per watt basis to construct. Because notice here, we got clipping losses associated with the higher DC-AC ratio. So we're getting more clipping. And we also, because we have a tighter GCR, we're going to sacrifice a little bit in our energy yield. So the highest yield is our 1.21 DC-AC ratio. So that's the reason why in this scenario, we're getting the lowest LCOE with our 1.2 DC-AC ratio and 45% GCR. All right, so in summary, and to to wrap things up here for you, in right around 30 minutes, I was able to go from a prospecting, looking in Central Florida at various parcels, to indicative analysis within PlantPredict, all the way to a detailed design, including a detailed bill of materials, detailed cost estimate, all the way through to an actual optimization, all in 30 minutes. With the two tools working together, I don't think there's a more compelling combination of functions and features in the industry today, and I'm just really excited to be part of it. So with that, we are going to hand it back over to Rafal and take your questions.
So we have about 8 minutes left, and we have a lot of great questions. So I'm going to jump right into it. First, David and Tang, can you talk about the pricing of PlantPredict Premium and the free trials?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm going to go back onto my screen sharing, and we're going to go to plantpredict.com. So PlantPredict Premium basically costs $100 a month or $1,000 a year. So our motto is solar modeling made simple, and we try to carry that through in everything that we do. So just using $100 per month or $1,000 per year is what our base cost is. We do offer some packages, like our business package gets 3 licenses. It's slightly discounted, so $250 per month or $2,500 a year. You can see that the annual prepay gets you 2 free months is the whole model there. And this is comparable to other products in the industry that do this type of work. So I think that you'll find that it's very competitive. And the Dev Platform and PlantPredict Premium are bundled. So you only have to purchase PlantPredict Premium in order to take advantage of all the great functionalities of both software. So you get 2 for the price of 1.
All right, another question. A couple people asking this. Does the energy prediction in PlantPredict take into account the topography from the 3D view or the losses associated with the topography?
Yeah, great question. So that is like the holy grail we're all looking for right now. So I will mention that is my goal for 2022 at PlantPredict. It's my overarching goal is to be best in class when it comes to topography analysis. We actually do have right now our very first version of that. So going into the map builder, you'll notice that we have this slope design option. So if you click on that, by default, we do a simplified plant layout that just is building this on a flat plane. If you click advanced plant layout, what we'll do is we'll break down this power plant into arrays, and we will actually apply the prevailing grade to the site on that. So you'll understand based on the prevailing grade what the shading impacts and electrical losses are associated with your power plant. Our goal is to go beyond just prevailing grade and actually take undulations into account and build that out. Our challenge is we're trying to balance performance with accuracy of results, and so we're looking at different ways that we can optimize our server usage and build this out in a way that is at least reasonable, because we do have a 3D model within PlantPredict that does ray tracing and all of that, but you could find yourself with a simulation that could take a few hours to complete if we put in a bunch of undulations. So team is hard at work on that. I'm committed this year to having PlantPredict be best in class when it comes to terrain modeling of your energy.
All right, once again, I'm going to breeze through these questions quickly. Does your terrain and metadata cover Canada at all? And I guess in that sense, international data.
It does. It does. So you're going to be able to get topography for anywhere in the world. So that's really good. Some of our data sources are limited, like our parcel data has some Canada. So we do have some parcel data in Canada. Interestingly enough, New Zealand, Australia, we have those, but we're missing places like Europe and Middle East and India and stuff like that. So you'll find that when it comes to our GIS data, it just does vary. I mean, US is got a bit of an advantage because we have a lot of access to data here in the US. So you'll find it covering pretty much anywhere you're going to want to do development in the US, somewhat in Canada. And from a topography standpoint, we cover the whole world, but it's just some of our other layers that you might not find if you're trying to do international designs.
All right. How can we see the models or equations being used, or is this proprietary?
Yeah, great question. So within PlantPredict, I'm going to go back to our PlantPredict. We actually fully disclose all of our models and algorithms. So you'll be able to find all of the calculations, at least in documentation form, here in our models and algorithms. In fact, I know of one university in particular that has a solar design or solar modeling class that they offer to their mechanical engineers. I'm kind of a fan of this university because I serve on their industrial advisory board. And they have actually got their mechanical engineering students going through and hand calculating or Excel calculating things like incident angle and stuff like that using the documentation that we offer in here. So a wealth of information here. Now, furthermore, when you run a simulation, PlantPredict does offer nodal data, and not to be confused with the concept of nodes in the world of transmission and distribution networks. But our nodal data will give you the details of all the calculations, all the way through from like the incidence angle of your solar panels, all the way through to losses, and it breaks it all down in extreme detail. Those people that use the nodal data love it. And you can even turn on nodal data from the Dev Platform. That was one of the options at the end. I didn't highlight it, but you can turn on nodal data and actually see your nodal data for your prediction if you really want to see the details of how the calculations are happening.
All right, we might go over with a few more questions, so please stick around if you'd like to hear some more technical questions. Otherwise, if you would like a trial of PlantPredict Premium, you can email support@plantpredict.com. Just ask us for a trial. Or there will be a post-event survey, and you could submit your information there. Moving on to another question. How is data privacy managed? I know this is a concern with the data going between the two platforms.
Yeah, very good question. And without a doubt, your data privacy is very important to us, and it's high on our priority list. So we at Terabase, we use well-known cloud data providers that ensure that your data is kept safe and secure. They use the latest of security methods to make sure that your data is encrypted at rest, encrypted in transit, those kind of things. We make sure that is all done. We also, I mentioned just briefly things like draft private. Your work, like your projects, your modules, are all completely segregated at the company level, and we make sure that is the case. Like we can't even go in and see your projects, we at Terabase, without you granting us permission or sharing your data with us. So we make sure that we keep a firewall between your data, firewall between you and anybody else using the system from a data standpoint. It's very important. You'll find quite a bit of information about that in our terms of use, where we make it well known that you own your data, and we want to make sure that data is kept private.
Okay, another question here. This is for people maybe who are not familiar with either of our platforms, but what is the ideal flow, Terabase or PlantPredict first?
Yeah, great question. So I gave you a scenario today where I was prospecting in PlantPredict, and then I flowed into the Dev Platform. What I think is powerful about our tools is we don't mandate a process onto you. So you can take your processes and use our tools and envelop your process around our tools. So I know a lot of people that do prospecting in the Dev Platform. And one thing I didn't showcase, but inside the Dev Platform, we have an unbelievable wealth of GIS data the Dev Platform at its heart is a GIS platform. So you can see things like transmission lines, substations in the Dev Platform. It's using the same data source that we use in PlantPredict as well. And so you can get access to that information. We have a parcel layer as well, wetland data. So we have all these layers in the Dev Platform, just like we have in PlantPredict. So you could even start in the Dev Platform. In fact, you could use the Dev Platform and never even log into PlantPredict and just totally work within the Dev Platform. That is completely supported. You don't even have to set up your password in PlantPredict. It establishes your user, and it'll use that user account for running your simulations, and you could just work within the Dev Platform if that's what you want. But I do think the people that are going to get the most value out of our product offering are going to learn how to use the two tools together and how to use the best that both worlds offer. Over time, you're going to see us bringing these tools closer and closer together, and at some point we may even consolidate into a single product. So that's something that may happen over time. But in the meantime, we're very diligently evaluating the pros and the cons of the two separate tools, and making sure that we understand how to provide the best of both worlds to our users, and we want our users to try to figure that out as well. And we're going to do these webinars to try to help you understand that over time.
All right, another question here. Do the EPC cost assumptions have any sensitivities to changes in commodity pricing or increase in shipping costs?
Yes. In fact, we're in the process of doing a database update right now, because as everybody knows, the costs are changing very quickly. So one thing that's great within Terabase is, Tang mentioned, we have an engineering services team. And so that engineering services, they do work. They roll up their sleeves and they actually do real engineering. That's something that is, I think, a real benefit to our organizational structure, is we have engineers doing real designs, doing real cost estimates, and their experience is informing our software. So as our team is actively engaged in real projects that are under construction, they're getting market data, and they're able to pass that back into our software world, and we're updating our data as the market prices are changing. So you still can, though, and I think it's important, you take our data with a little bit of a grain of salt and make sure that you use your data when you get into really detailed analysis and optimization. Make sure that you go in and put in the data that you're aware of. That's one thing that I think is important. But we're going to try to keep market relevant pricing in our cost database to the best that we can.
All right, thanks, David. Once again, thanks for those of you who are sticking around, once again, and still sending in more questions. If some of you have to leave, thanks for joining us. Stay tuned for our next webinar, but I'm going to continue with a few more questions. David, I have a couple questions about tree shading or shading in general, shading analysis in general. Can you talk about our capabilities there?
Yeah, sure. So one thing that I did not go into detail on, but I'm going to just highlight, is within the weather data area, you can pull in a horizon scene. So this is going to be for our horizon shading, so our far shading, and that shows up in the loss tree as far shading. So we will pull in a location-specific horizon scene. This is Florida, so the horizon's kind of boring. There's not many mountains or anything to work with. So that's your far shading. When it comes to near shading, we don't have a really good solution for things like tree rows. We have a solution, and you can use it. And I know of customers that use it. It's just not ideal. And when I say it's not ideal, what I mean by that is it's slow. It takes some time. But we do offer, and I guess we'll come back out here and I'll just show you real quick. at the DC field level, and you have to do this at a DC by DC field basis, you can add objects that you need to work around. So if I open my advanced editor, it puts things into a 3D view, and then you can add objects to this. So I can do a 10 foot by 30 foot by 50 foot. And you can see we build that out there, and then you can offset that. We'll offset that by 50 foot. And then what happens is if you do this, then we're going to force you to use our 3D engine so that we can actually do the ray tracing on this. Understand it's going to take a long time. That's the big disclaimer that we have here, is if you do start building out objects on your DC fields so that you can get the shading effect of that, just understand it's going to take a little bit of time to build it out, and it's also going to take a little bit of time to run. But we do offer that capability, and it's something that I think over time you're going to see us get better at because it's such an important aspect. So you'll see us improve that over time. But for now, we do offer it. Just understand it's going to take some time.
All right, I have a couple people asking if this webinar will be available for download, and yes, it will. It will be sent, a recording will be sent to your emails, and we'll also post it on our website, our YouTube channel, and some other places. So if you're following us and you're getting our newsletters, you'll be getting a copy of this webinar. David, let's see, another question. Let's see here. Can you model bifacial and configure albedo?
Absolutely. Yeah, bifacial is something that we've offered for a long time. In fact, there's been studies done. If you look at our past webinars, we had the Technical University of Denmark come on and show the results of a year-long study that they did to compare different modeling tools, and PlantPredict came out performing really well. So I'm very proud of our bifacial model. This module in particular that I uploaded, so if I go to this, you'll see that this is a bifacial model. So we have things like bifaciality factor and stuff like that in the model. So yes, we absolutely model bifacial. It's unbelievably critical in today's world. We absolutely do.
All right. Can you perform the optimization of the power plant using the API instead of the UI? So I guess that's a general question about the API access we give.
Yeah, definitely. So, and we have a lot of customers that do that. So we have customers, our most sophisticated, most advanced customers are API customers. So they not only use PlantPredict's user interface, but they actually use PlantPredict's API. So here's on our webpage where we talk about our PlantPredict API, and we have some documentation in there. We also offer a Python SDK. So if you are familiar with using Python, which most people are these days, you can use our Python SDK, which makes interacting with our API easy. A little easier. You don't have to use it, but it does make things a little bit easier. And so our most sophisticated, most advanced customers are using PlantPredict's API to do optimization for themselves. And they have their own proprietary optimization methodology and stuff like that. And they run lots of different scenarios and stuff like that. I love those customers. They keep our servers very busy, obviously, but they're pushing the envelope. And that's ultimately what we want. We as a company, we want utility scale solar to be smarter, to be cheaper, to be better, because it's so important for our planet. And so when we get a customer that's willing to take it to the next level and leverage our API to do their own optimization, we're just thrilled by that. And we don't charge anything. We allow you to use the PlantPredict API. I mean, we don't charge you anything extra for that. The only requirement that we do have is that API access is only available for our PlantPredict Premium business users and enterprise users and education users. So we don't offer API access for just individual. So you do have to, even if you only have one license, but you want API access for that person, you do have to get a business subscription. So that's the only thing we charge extra for API access, but it's a really powerful part of what PlantPredict has to offer.
So we're going to do 2 more questions. I have several questions here about the data updates when you're going between the Terabase and PlantPredict, and whether the changes you make in one platform are always, being updated in the other one, and vice versa.
Yeah, good question. So if you start in PlantPredict and create a map builder prediction, when you go to the Dev Platform, you're going to bring in that KMZ. It's going to be like a point in time. If you make other changes in your map builder, it's not going to automatically flow to PlantPredict or to the Dev Platform. That's important to understand. You have to manually keep those things in sync. All right. Now, if you are in the Dev Platform and you're making updates, every time you run a scenario, it's going to update in It'll update in PlantPredict. It'll run the prediction in PlantPredict. So we have that. Now, if you go into PlantPredict and you start making changes to your prediction, it does not sync back with the Dev Platform at this time. That's something that I think over time we're going to find a solution for that, because I know that's important, because there are some things you can do in PlantPredict to make your prediction maybe a little bit more accurate or whatever. And you may want that to flow back into the Dev Platform for financial modeling. We don't offer that today, but that's something we'll definitely consider in the future.
All right, and final question. And once again, I have so many more questions. So if we didn't get to your question, please send it to support@plantpredict.com or support@terabase.energy, and we'll answer your specific questions.
And we can also, Rafal, go through the questions and because we'll have that as part of the report that comes out, and we can do some individual answering based upon policy.
So the final question here is, I have several people asking about the different formats. Is it possible Terabase, we can export the Terabase layout as DXF? Does the layout design, can it be exported as a standard engineering report? Layout formats as PDF?
Yeah, okay, great. So first off, we know how to do DXFs because we just did it in the map builder. We'll eventually do that in the Dev Platform as well. That's one of the other things that's really been powerful about bringing these teams together, bringing the PlantPredict team in with the Terabase team and getting our teams integrated, is we learn so much from each other. And so today, the Dev Platform layout is not able to be exported in DXF format, but we know how to do it. It's on our roadmap. It's going to happen here before too long. So that's something you guys can look forward to. What was the other part of that, Rafal?
That was the DXF format. And then another one, let's see, in what the layout design, can it be exported as a standard engineering report? And then,
yes. So once again, like we have the PLT 1000, which is supposed to be a standard engineering report, at least from a layout standpoint. You're going to see us roll stuff like that as well over onto the Dev Platform as well as we build it out. So the teams have been integrated since October. So we're still in the early innings of this ball game. In fact, I don't even know if we've gotten to inning number 1. We're still like just coming together and working together, which is really exciting. And I'm so excited to show this webinar because I wanted everybody to see the fruits of the work that we've been putting in, because the team's been working so hard on this stuff. So stay tuned. You're going to see some amazing stuff as we continue to integrate these two software together, and we continue to take what we know as the best of both and bring them together. You'll see things like that as far as like a PLT 1000, maybe a TBE 1000 type document coming out of the Terabase Dev Platform with your detailed layout in an engineering style report. That would be the kind of thing that I would expect to see here in the near future.
All right, thank you, David. And that'll be it for today. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We look forward to seeing you at our next webinar We'll be following up with a recording of this webinar. We'll be following up with your questions. And if you want that PlantPredict trial, please email support@plantpredict.com and we'll get you set up. Thank you very much and have a good day.